McDonald's didn't just stumble, it fell. Quietly, slowly, and in front of everyone. And the strangest part? It happened while the restaurants were still full. For decades, this was the most powerful brand on the planet, not just in fast food, in all of American culture. The Golden Arches meant something. They meant comfort, consistency, and a meal you could count on anywhere in the country, from a highway rest stop in Ohio to a beach town in Florida. McDonald's was everywhere, and it owned America. So how does something that dominant start to collapse? Think back to 1955. Ray Kroc walks into a burger stand in San Bernardino, California. He doesn't own it. He doesn't run it. He's just a milkshake machine salesman. But he sees something nobody else sees. A system. A perfect, repeatable, scalable system built by Dick and Mac McDonald. And he thinks, this can be everywhere. Within 20 years, it was. By the 1970s, McDonald's had become the largest restaurant chain in the United States. By the 1980s, Ronald McDonald was the second most recognized figure in the world, right behind Santa Claus. Let that sink in. A clown for a fast food chain was more famous than almost every world leader alive. More recognized than the president. More recognized than the Pope. That's not a restaurant, that's a religion. McDonald's wasn't selling burgers, it was selling an experience, a happy meal, the ball pit, the smell of fries the second you walk through the door. For millions of American kids, McDonald's wasn't just a restaurant, it was a memory, a ritual, a reward. Saturday afternoons after Little League, birthday parties in plastic booths, the toy you shook out of the paper bag before you even touched the food. And their parents? They loved the price. They loved the speed. They loved that it never surprised them. Consistency was the product. Then something shifted. And almost nobody noticed when it started. It didn't happen overnight. These things never do. But by the mid-2000s, the cracks were beginning to show. Quietly, then all at once. Sales started slowing. Customer satisfaction scores dropped. Longtime fans began choosing somewhere else and not coming back. Wall Street noticed. Analysts started asking uncomfortable questions. And inside McDonald's corporate offices, there was a tension nobody wanted to talk about publicly. What was going wrong? The first problem was something McDonald's had never faced before at that scale. Competition that actually matched it. Not imitated it, matched it. Chipotle launched in 1993 and exploded through the 2000s. Five Guys, Shake Shack, Panera. A new category emerged and America gave it a name. Fast casual. Same speed as McDonald's, but with fresher ingredients, cleaner restaurants, and food that felt like it was made by a human being. Suddenly, the Golden Arches had a perception problem. McDonald's became the option you settled for, not the one you chose. But here's where the story gets complicated. Because McDonald's didn't ignore the threat. They saw it coming, they responded aggressively, and somehow, the response made everything worse. They expanded the menu dramatically. Wraps, salads, smoothies, snack wraps, Angus burgers, McRibs making a comeback, premium items, seasonal items, limited items. The menu board became overwhelming. Customers stood at the counter confused. Employees scrambled to keep up. And the kitchen, that perfectly engineered, ruthlessly efficient kitchen Ray Kroc had built his empire on, began to crack under the pressure. Drive-through times slowed. This was not a small thing. Drive-thrus generate the majority of McDonald's revenue. Speed is the entire value proposition. When the line starts backing up onto the street, customers don't wait. They leave. They go somewhere else. And then they don't come back. McDonald's had spent 50 years mastering the art of fast. And now, chasing a menu nobody asked for, they were losing it. They broke their own promise. But that wasn't the real problem. The franchisees started speaking up. These are the operators, the men and women who own and run individual McDonald's locations, the people with actual skin in the game, and they were frustrated. Corporate kept pushing new menu items, new equipment, new remodel requirements. The cost of running a McDonald's location was climbing. Margins were shrinking. Some franchisees started falling behind. Others started pushing back. When the people running your restaurants lose faith in the brand, you have a crisis that no marketing campaign can fix. And then came the question the brand couldn't escape. The question that spread through social media, food journalism, and dinner table conversations across the country. What's actually in this food? The 2004 documentary, Super Size Me, didn't just gross people out. It rewired how a generation thought about McDonald's. Morgan Spurlock eating nothing but McDonald's for 30 days and visibly deteriorating on camera. That image stuck. It became a cultural shorthand. McDonald's became synonymous with processed, with unhealthy, with cheap in the bad way. A parent who grew up loving McDonald's started looking at it differently when their own kid reached for the fries. And then millennials grew up. This is the part of the story that doesn't get talked about enough. The generation that grew up eating Happy Meals became adults who cared deeply about where their food came from. Organic, local, antibiotic-free, non-GMO. These weren't niche concerns anymore. They were mainstream. And McDonald's, with its industrial supply chain and its global scale, couldn't pivot fast enough to meet the moment. The brand was caught between two worlds, too big to be artisanal, too slow to be innovative, too cheap to be premium, too unhealthy to be modern. They were everything, so they stood for nothing. And then, things got worse. But none of that. Not the competition, not the menu bloat, not the health concerns, not the franchisee revolt. None of that was the real reason McDonald's started failing. The real reason was identity. This is where everything changed. For 40 years, McDonald's knew exactly who it was. It was the place for families, for road trips, for kids who wanted a toy with their meal. The marketing was clear. The message was consistent. The brand had a soul. And then McDonald's stopped trusting that soul. It chased trends instead of setting them. It tried to appeal to the health-conscious crowd while still selling quarter-pounders. It tried to look upscale while keeping dollar menu pricing. It tried to modernize without understanding what made it worth saving in the first place. Every new initiative sent a different message. Every new campaign contradicted the last one. That internal confusion showed up everywhere. In inconsistent store quality across locations, in advertising that nobody remembered, in products that felt like they came from 3 different restaurants sharing one building. Customers walked in not knowing what McDonald's was trying to be. And when customers don't know what a brand stands for, they stop standing by it. Because on paper, McDonald's was still winning. Thousands of locations, billions in revenue, lines at lunch, cars wrapping around drive-thrus. From the outside, nothing looked broken. And that's what delayed the response. When a company this large starts slipping, it doesn't collapse in a dramatic moment. It erodes quietly beneath the surface. Inside the stores, the experience was becoming inconsistent. One location felt clean and modern. Another felt outdated and neglected. The same burger tasted slightly different depending on where you ordered it. Small gaps like that don't make headlines. But over time, they break trust. And trust is everything for a brand built on sameness. Customers didn't wake up one day and abandon McDonald's. They drifted. One better meal somewhere else. One faster drive-thru at a competitor. One cleaner dining room across the street. Not a rejection, a gradual replacement. And by the time McDonald's realized what was happening, the habit, the one it had spent decades building, was already starting to disappear. By 2014, McDonald's reported its first monthly sales decline in over a decade.
The company is lapping the E. coli incident from last fall, but it saw traffic rise.
The CEO stepped down. A new one came in, then another. The instability at the top reflected the instability at the core. This was the lowest point. A brand that had once defined American eating didn't know what it wanted to say anymore. So where does McDonald's stand today? The answer is more complicated than most people expect. McDonald's didn't die, but it transformed. Slowly, painfully, and with a few surprisingly smart moves. They simplified the menu, dramatically. They cut the clutter and got back to what people actually ordered. They invested heavily in technology. Mobile ordering, self-service kiosks, AI-powered drive-thrus, loyalty programs built to keep customers coming back. The My McDonald's Rewards app pulled in tens of millions of users and gave the company something it desperately needed: data on its own customers. They brought back value deals to win over cost-conscious Americans. And they leaned hard into nostalgia and cultural relevance. Limited edition celebrity meals with Travis Scott, BTS, Cardi B. Campaigns that got people talking. And then came the Grimace birthday shake. A purple milkshake that Gen Z turned into a full-blown horror meme on TikTok. McDonald's didn't fight it. They leaned in. And suddenly, the brand that had felt stale felt alive again. They remembered something important. McDonald's has cultural power that no startup can manufacture. Chipotle has customers. McDonald's has history. But the recovery is fragile. In 2024, news broke that a McDonald's-linked E. coli outbreak
Pounder E. coli outbreak has now been linked to at least 75 sick people.
Sickened dozens of people across multiple states. The Quarter Pounder, one of their most iconic items, was temporarily pulled from menus nationwide. It was a gut punch to a brand still trying to rebuild trust with the very customers it had lost. And then there were the prices. A Big Mac combo meal crossing $10 in many American cities. Customers who had come back for value started doing the math and leaving again. The promise that McDonald's had made to working families for 70 years, "We will feed you fast and cheap," started feeling like a broken one. Social media filled up with receipt photos. People weren't just disappointed, they were angry. McDonald's is not dead, but it is wounded, and it knows it. The question now isn't whether McDonald's can survive. It has too much infrastructure, too much capital, and too much brand recognition to simply disappear. The real question is whether McDonald's can become relevant again, whether it can find its identity in a world where the consumer has more choices, more information, and less patience than ever before. That answer hasn't been written yet, and honestly, That's what makes this story worth watching. If you want to understand how another American giant misread its moment and paid the price, there's a video right after this one that tells that exact story. Watch it. You won't see it coming.